All right. So, week 11. Um, week 11 is an important week. Okay, I say that every time. Maybe? I don't know. Because we're moving into now our last week before we get into our dev work. And I sent out an email this morning saying I'm going to release the sign up schedule on Monday. Okay, so if you're getting here around the Monday time, just know that around 11, if I can do it sooner, I might. But I appreciate folks who pay attention because they want a specific time, and that is what they are hoping to sign up for. As I said with the Dev Zero, if you need a time outside of that, reach out to me. I'll do my best to work that out. But just know that you and I have different schedules, right? I'm not typically a late night for a lot of different reasons. Mostly is that my sleep is vital for me. So, anyway, just look for that on Monday and then we'll go from there. The one thing I want to give a shout out to Adam. Adam has been coming and he didn't mind if I say this. I actually asked him specifically if he'd be okay with this. Adam had gotten a little behind and he came to see me every day, I think this week during office hours. And his comment was the amount of new understanding he gained from coming to see me each day was really helpful. And I guess the thing that I wanted to reflect back to you, of course, I'm saying that to encourage you, no doubt. The reason that what can happen with a programming class is that, especially for those of you that are new to this topic, there's so much to take in, and then translate that into skill. I'm not going to say it's not a challenge. And what you want to do is, if you can, is lean into, if you've heard this term, lean into coming to see me. I hope I feel like I've been trying to be as welcoming as possible. I mean, sometimes I can't meet late at night, but I've tried to be really responsive to you on Discord. And I want to talk about Discord in a minute, but I want to finish this concept of, you know, taking a programming class and thinking it's an online class, I should never have to go see the instructor, is probably not a great idea for any class, because especially one that you're learning a skill based, um, it is it is good. And I guess maybe you could help me out by helping me understand, is it more scheduling that is the challenge, or is it that, what is the challenge for you? Maybe that's the way I'll ask it. Just give me, as your reply here, what is the challenge for you in coming to see me, right? Or what keeps you from it, maybe. So, because not, and here's what I've also noticed, that students that actually typically do well, and some of you have commented about this, have taken other programming classes. And it's true, your first programming course, it's kind of common knowledge that it is the hardest one, your first one. But then the next one is a little easier. So I've been trying to figure out, how can we make this, better. And again, if you have some feedback about that, I'd love to hear it. I've asked students across several years. Part of the reason I set up the Discord, so let me talk about Discord for a minute. The idea of Discord was a student to student interaction, and that I may or may not be in that conversation. But I know many of you are just like pinging me, and I know it's okay. I just want to say, at the beginning of the semester, one of the things I said is, don't, what happens is, if you tag me on a post, then nobody else would even attempt to reply, because they're like, well, the student's asking the teacher. When the idea of Discord is for you to ask each other, right? And if I'm available, I'll try to answer. I get it. But I also understand, and maybe that's part of what you're doing, is like, well, you'd be the most knowledgeable. But the thing I told Adam today, which, thank you, Adam, for letting me use you as an example, is that you really learn a lot when you help other people, when you look at somebody else's code to try to help them figure it out, because it really, it can level you up by doing that. And maybe you think, well, I don't have enough knowledge to help somebody else, but you may be really surprised. Just try. Don't just say, no, I can't. It's my suggestion. Just give it a try. Okay, I know I ask a lot, and there are a lot of different things, and any of that that you want to reply to, But just knowing that it can really help you, and we're at that part of the class where we're past the midpoint, we're on to our next project, right? And it's a great time in the week coming in because we don't have signups this week. And as my message says, the signups for assistance or code review will start the following Monday, right? So next week. Now, the only caveat I will say here is next Friday, I'm going to be traveling, so I'll be voice available. Now, when I get to my location, I definitely could do a call at that point, but I will be on voice next Friday. Okay, so let's go in here and take a look at just the topic. So here's what I did with this attendance post, just FYI, is I left the one from last semester because I reviewed this and it was like, this is great. I go over my Dev 1 output fairly quickly. I talk about what's going to happen with our Learn Together work. Our Learn Together will be moving away from the decision code after that. And so, again, this is from last semester, right? So I was looking today at, matter of fact, let's just do this. Let's just quickly go look because the other thing I need to do, I'll tell you what I'm going to do for the Learn Together for this week. I'm pretty much there, right? So for our 11 Learn Together, of course, you have your normal video. And, right, if you for some reason didn't get all the CRUD operations, you got to get them done now, right? Refactor to use arrow function. So this is relatively straightforward to use an arrow function, but one of the things you want to know is in what situation you shouldn't use them. And it's really when you're using the this variable. But in my decision code, I'm not using the this variable, so I was able to change all of them. And then, implement a truthy falsy value because this is the stuff we're learning this week in the course, right? So there's some great stuff, 2 sections of arrow function, ternary operator, which is just a quick, simple shorthand way to write an if. And then truthy, falsy, coercion is really, and catch. So these are just things we're adding to make our code more modern, right? And that's a good thing to do. And then handling errors and then working with strict. So we're breaking this into 2 sections. You're on the first part of it. Again, there's really nothing new work. Well, I would say there's nothing new, but it's true. This is all new concepts, but it really is just refactoring our code or understanding it in a new way. But the one thing that came out for me this week was about the date and time. I was reading Moment.js, which is the library that he's using, and as I was looking at it, because I was getting ready to implement something into my Learn Together work, I realized as I was going down through here, I went into the docs page and realized that, they're actually kind of starting to, and some articles here says you don't need Moment.js anymore, and I was like, wow, okay, so you can tell the course from Andrew, which I've been using for a couple of years, is starting to get outdated. But this is what happens in JavaScript. This is so common, and this is exactly what jQuery was. jQuery was a way to make some of the shortcomings of the language, in that case JavaScript, easier for developers to use or anyone to use. So now the reason that we had moments was because date and time was kind of a pain. So what I did for my Learn Together, and because I'd had you say use moments, but and we've had a discussion out on Discord, which by the way, if you're not there, not too late. But I started looking at like, how can we do it? Are there other, and I found a pretty good video because somebody also asked me about alternatives. And you could, let me see, JavaScript date and time JavaScript. Let me show you one that I think I looked at today. Yeah, deprecated. Displaying date and time. Yeah, so this actually is a good one because he talks about, because I've been watching a little bit more of his content lately, and it's actually really good. But he talks about different ways to do that. But so there are alternatives, but at this point, it's kind of like try to see if you can use just the standard date and time. and this international date and time, and then there's a format. You still have to declare the date and time, and then you can just format it, tell it to format particular ways. What I'm going to look into before the learn together is see if I can do some of those functions with moments.js, which is to tell the difference between how many days between or minutes between stuff given the standard libraries. But more than anything, I just wanted to say, like, this is what happens. Like, this is what happens with JavaScript in any language as it evolves, right? As we have more features, and we call it in the platform, meaning built into the JavaScript language. As we have more of that, that's being updated over time, right? Some of these libraries that have become so popular won't be as needed. And this is just the nature of programming, because it does change all the time, every day. There's a new JavaScript framework library that's always going to be coming on to, it has the flavor of the week. And then as we see them being more and more implemented, then we might take a look. And Moment.js was like that. Moment.js was very popular. But even you might think 2 years is not, but it's relatively short amount of time. It lost favor because of what I said before. So I know I'm repeating myself, but I want you to just get this. Like, change when something like JavaScript is so heavily used by so many developers and non-developers alike, when it's so popular and so used, it's constantly evolving. This is just going to be true. And so what you want to do is, as you're learning something, just know maybe, oh, I want to make sure what's the relevant tool that I'm using, what's relevant today. And making sure when you're, and that's why for me, this will definitely be the last semester. And actually, next semester, I'm not teaching JavaScript. I'm teaching Node.js, and I'm using a new course, 2022. And for me, if I do get a chance to teach JavaScript again, I won't use this course. I'd said it before, but this is the end of the line for me. But I do think there's some great content in Andrew's course. I just think it's really starting to show its out of dateness. So anyway, FYI. So hopefully reply with any of that, but I asked you a specific question at the beginning. Watch the second video to check that out. And then hopefully I'll see a couple of more of you in office hours next week. Have a great weekend. See you later.